Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Too high or too low? These are where the Vikings receivers rank.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, here to discuss the difference between a podium and a lectern.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan from Wide Left. Once again, Luke Braun antagonizes me.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Hello. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Minnesota Football Party. A little curveball recording on a Friday today. We are streaming live on the Locked On Vikings channel, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Get our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. We appreciate that. You met Luke Braun. You met Arif Hasan. Luke Inman is off today, and I'm Sam Ekstrom. The show today brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Before the show is over, we explore PFF's latest rankings, where the Vikings running back room and wide receiver room stack up. Where will the Vikings regress to the mean, either positively or negatively? Where will we see regression this year? Justin Jefferson's a year older. Adrian Peterson got in a poker fight. And per someone's request on Twitter, we will rank the NFL theme songs before the show is done. I did by far the most.
Sam, we can't cut that one off for time. That's the one I did the homework for.
I don't know about you guys. I definitely was not sitting in my office going to myself this morning.
Definitely I wasn't, because I just played it on YouTube like a normal person. So.
Oh, right. Well, I wanted to make sure that I could recall it in my head before I went and found the real thing to see how it matched up. And I struggled with, we'll get to it. We'll get to it later. This is going to get heated. Pro Football
This could be passionate, yeah.
It's going to be, emotions are going to be inflamed. Pro Football Focus ranks stuff in the offseason, and it gives us plenty to talk about. They do that. They rank stuff in the season. That gets people really mad because they rank players.
Yeah, that's even worse, yeah.
Yep. But the offseason, it gets spicy as well. So I don't know if you've looked. They ranked the wide receiver rooms around the NFL. And this wasn't strictly wide receivers either. These were pass-catching units, which changes the equation considerably because they toss in good pass-catching running backs, tight ends, the whole thing. So where do you think, if you haven't looked and spoiled it, where did the Vikings end up?
So pass-catching units, so that includes the tight end?
Yep.
I'm going to say they probably ranked 6th. I don't know.
Considering that you titled this too low, it's probably lower than you think, yeah. What if they're 10th or 9th?
You underestimate my clickbait titling, though.
Overestimate it, maybe?
Overestimate? Yeah. Where is it? I don't know.
Yeah, stop playing the game.
All right. Arif nails it. 6th.
Oh, hey.
Nice.
Look at that. I was going to guess 5th, and then I was like, no, it's not interesting if it's 5th.
Let's family feud this thing with the 5 teams above them. 5 answers on the board. You get 3 strikes. Who's better than the Vikings?
Bengals.
Number 3.
Let's see. Are we going to say Dolphins? Dolphins. Eagles.
Dolphins. Eagles. Yes. Number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Dolphins have been put in that range pretty consistently. That's interesting.
They were 7th.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Definitely not the Steelers, and I think the Seahawks have lost that privilege. PFF's high on Ricky Pearsall, but not that high. This is interesting. Kind of curious. Not the Ravens. Oh, Buccaneers.
Number 2 answer, Buccaneers. You've got 3 and 4. I'm sorry, 4 and 5 remaining. You have 1 strike.
Okay. Texans.
Oh, 2 strikes. Braun, get ready to steal.
Wait, hold on. Whoa. Where are the Texans? Like, that's crazy.
The Texans, who lost Stephon Diggs, by the way, they're number 10.
They got
10.
Nico.
Number 10.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I wouldn't have done that. Okay, yeah, this is tough. Okay, so we've got rookies like Marvin Harrison. I don't think that's going to help. Malik Neighbors isn't going to help. If they're really high on rookies, right, incoming rookies, not just last year's rookies, I could see the Jaguars, but that just feels like a stupid pick. Let's go. Not the Chiefs, right? That's stupid too.
Is that a guess?
I guess I only have the Jaguars. What do we got? Jaguars?
3 strikes.
Yeah,
he's going to get the
I'm
real
missing
buzzer.
an obvious one for sure.
The real buzzer for that one. Oh, I don't have it on here. Shoot. All right, Ron, you get a chance to steal. You've huddled up with your family. You're all shouting out answers. Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, no, it's the most we've gotten. Read what the ones that are on the board again. We got
Eagles number 1,
Eagles.
Buccaneers number 2, Bengals number 3, 4 and 5. Still yet to be unveiled.
We got to go Lions, Steve.
Show me the Motor City Kitties. Bing. Number 4.
They love J-Mo, huh?
Yeah.
They love Laporta, J-Mo.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Laporta, Luke?
Overrated.
What did you coin him late in the year? The what merchant?
Called him Lafrada.
No, you called him a merchant of some kind, and that's the trendy way to describe a fraud. Is
I bet I called him a PFF merchant.
PFF merchant.
I'm kind of.
I thought it was
curious.
like a concept that they ran.
Oh, PHT rules. Okay, that's a great nickname that PHT just put in the chat.
Laporta potty.
Oh yeah, that's. So who was number 5?
Yeah,
Arif touched on it. The San Francisco 49ers.
Oh,
they're
wow,
really
they
high.
Were that high on Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah,
that's
obviously
insane.
Kittle and Ayuk, but that's nuts.
So yeah, they lose Debo, obviously. Kittle, Jennings, Pearsall, Ayuk,
Juwan Jennings,
and
they're big on Juwan Jennings too, aren't they? Like they see him as
Jennings
much more than I think the world sees him as.
So 5 above the Vikings. Do you disagree? It sounds like you disagree with the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings have a great top 2, a great number 1 tight end, and an above average running back. I don't think they have a lot of depth if you're counting all skill players. I don't know if there's a lot of depth in that room. I think 6 is okay.
Yeah, I would put them above the 49ers, and I think there's a good argument to put them above the Lions. Now, if you're making the argument that like Jahmyr Gibbs as a pass catcher kind of puts them over the top, I see it, but I don't agree. I think he's a really good running back. Don't get me wrong. I think that because he's a fast running back, people assume he's a better pass catcher than he is. Kind of the Dalvin Cook problem. So I would put them above the Lions, especially because I'm not as high on Jameson Williams as they are. So to me, because I would take Hawkinson over Laporta, I obviously take Jefferson over Amon-Ra. And so do the differences in the other receiving groups, make up that for the Lions, if they are even in the Lions' favor? And I don't really see that. So yeah. I would put the Vikings at 4th, certainly not above the Eagles, and I don't think they're above the Bengals. So in the Buccaneers, depends on how age impacts the Buccaneers.
Who's the tight end for the Bengals these days?
Good question.
Mike Gesicki.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so who's the tight end for the Bengals?
Pretty Gesicki.
Mike
Sign it for who?
Gesicki. They just extended him, right?
Good for them.
Like you could start to make that argument about, the Bengals have the duo, but people argue about the duo of Jefferson and Addison versus Higgins and Chase already just on its own. And I don't think you're going to start arguing about Hawkinson versus Mike Gesicki unless you want to start spreading some real weird trade rumors in around 2024, 3.
That's a pretty good point. I still think Higgins so far exceeds Addison that
I think so too. I think just having Jefferson on the team is going to give you such an advantage in so many of these debates. Like you're going to have Jefferson over Amon-Ra St. Brown by a lot that like I have trouble similarly to it. Like I have trouble with looking at like Laporta and Jamison Williams. And if you even do think that they're better than Addison and Hawkinson by that much, like it's a tough sell to me for a lot of these teams when you have the best player in the league and also some pretty good players. It would be a much harder sell for me if we were the ones with the Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I think they're trying to be a little cute with, how high is the floor of the wide receiver 3? Like, how good is the running? Like the running back pass impact is still like, it's such a small sample size. Like to say, Saquon Barkley, the number 2 pass catching back ranked on PFF, or Rachaad White, really highly ranked, pass catching back. That doesn't really resonate with me. That in some ways, I don't even find it in the spirit of the passing game to say that, okay, our screen game is effective. Like how many wheel routes are these guys catching per year? 3?
Yeah, like Jalen Naylor should not move the needle for you more.
Fully agree with Sam on something. Just completely 100% agree. Like the screen game, come on.
And hey, we've had a back here in the past who was not an effective pass catcher, even in the screen game. Initials AP. We'll talk about him before the show is over. I get it.
You got bad hands in more ways than one, huh?
Yeah, I feel like 6, give or take a couple of spots, is fairly correct for the Vikings. Now, how about running back rooms? Or I'm sorry, is it running back rooms? Yeah, running back rooms. Where do you have the Vikings there?
I'm so lost on the relative rooms of running backs across the league. I mean, like, it's definitely not like Denver's or Philadelphia's, but I don't think it's whatever the worst one is, whoever that is.
Yeah, it feels kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, so I'm going to go like 16.
I'll go like 12 because I think they still out of respect for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Braun gets this one. 11th.
Nice.
11th. Above San Francisco, amazingly, with Garendo and
we took one of them. So.
Yeah. We jumped them with Jordan Mason.
Does McCaffrey really exist?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
The evidence is stronger for Aaron Jones existing. That's for sure.
Above the Vikings, Panthers 10, Cardinals 9, Bills 8, Packers 7, Buccaneers 6, Seahawks 5, Eagles 4, Falcons 3, Lions 2, Ravens 1.
That is an insane Eagles placement. To put Saquon Barkley below Bijan Robinson is nuts to me.
Well, the Falcons also have a better backup group, right, than the Eagles.
That's so overreactive to depth. Did you see what Saquon Barkley did? He hurdled a guy backwards. I
noticed. I believe they put it on the Madden cover.
I believe they did.
Did PFF notice? Did they know? Can someone tell that? What? Fourth? That's wild.
I'm actually okay. So I'm looking at the Panthers.
Bijan even that good? That's crazy, man.
Room. I don't know
that's
about
crazy.
This.
The Falcons. That's. Whew.
AJ Dillon, the Eagles backup this year. Last year it was
okay.
He's the fast short guy. I can't remember his name.
But Boston Scott? I don't know.
No, nope. He was super efficient.
Jordan Todman.
Help us out, chat. Who was the Eagles backup?
Oh, the Eagles backup.
he would go for like 6 carries.
Kenneth Gainwell?
There it is. Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell. Thank you. Yep, Chad had it. PhD. Thank you, bad dad joke. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So Bijan and Algier versus Dylan, who is coming off of a very down year, and Barkley. Yeah, I guess I would take
Dylan,
Barkley.
He missed all of last season, right?
Yeah. All of last season?
I think he got hurt in camp or something like that.
That makes sense. The Packers running backs are famously not healthy. But yeah, I guess I would take. I mean, I like Algier a lot. I think that there's a reason PFF, I think, overrates him relative to public expectation, because I thought he was a starting quality running back when they drafted Bijan. And I don't know that A.J. Dillon has demonstrated the same level of respect, and also, like, Bijan Robinson is supposed to be like a real ball knowers back, which I think is silly because he was like a top 7 pick or whatever he was. But like, that's kind of what it's morphed into. Like, Bijan is, if you know, and it's like, yeah, no, he's great. I agree, he's great. Saquon hurdled the guy backwards.
You have to have a really high IQ to understand why Bijan Robinson is good.
Vikings running back question. Do you guys think this is a committee approach where fourth quarter comes around and KOC goes with the hot hand? Or is Aaron Jones still the incumbent in that sense that he'll get to finish games when you need a couple first downs to win? He gets the call.
I still think it's a drive-by-drive thing, probably. It's a rotation.
I do think it's drive-by-drive. I think if the Vikings are ahead by, let's say, 2 scores, I think that they just don't want to put wear and tear on Aaron Jones. And so I think they'll mess around a little bit, and not in a bad way. Like, I think they'll probably do like Jordan Mason a little bit more often, and then whoever wins the running back 3 job.
Yeah, in like, ice the game, kind of run the clock kind of situations. I think, like, until proven otherwise, it's probably that it's Aaron Jones, but for, call it 3-ish drives, which is a quarter of the game. I mean, that's not an insignificant amount, but like 3-ish drives for Jordan Mason to kind of spell him, but it's Aaron Jones. And I think it's more about, it's not like they spent a ton on Jordan Mason anyways, but what they did spend, I think, is more about not knowing how many healthy games of Aaron Jones you're ever going to get in a given year and being prepared for that. But I also have kind of been of the like, one of my hot takes going into the year is we could see a world where Jordan Mason ends up swapping that. All it takes is one soft tissue injury and a hot game, and then suddenly we're having a totally different conversation, and neither of those things are super hard to imagine.
Yeah.
How perfect is it that Cam Akers has now signed?
Yeah, finally.
With a clear seller. This is almost worthy of the breaking news sound. Cam Akers, Saint, a clear seller at the deadline.
Do you think Akers was like looking for which teams are most likely to need to trade him and then sign with that team?
Yes. This would have to be a Guinness Book of World Record that a professional athlete gets traded to the same team
3 years in a row,
3 consecutive years.
That would like I hope that the Vikings are like, hey, it'd be funny.
That'd be such good bar trivia in like 5 or 6 years when it's like kind of a forgotten thing, unless it's your meme,
right?
Akers, that's a plan.
Has there ever been, to your knowledge, a third stint Viking other than, and not that excludes practice squad guys that leave and come back and leave and come back, like a third stint active roster Viking that you can recall? It's got to be no, right?
It feels like there's someone somewhere that it would be kind of a good fit for. I'm trying to think, because like a lot of the most prominent ones are obviously like 2, right? Like Fran and Randy.
Trying to conjure like Brad Johnson-esque situations where it was like a long career.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there, and I bet the chat can come up with something. The chat of the comments, but I'm drawing a blank on this particular one.
We don't know. Leave a YouTube comment telling us how stupid we are. You do that anyways.
Yeah. I mean, but by all means, keep it up.
Yeah.
Cheryl says, did Cheryl
No,
ever leave?
PHT, Cheryl's has to leave the team. I do believe he came back once, right? I do believe he was cut and came back once, but I think Cheryl's just, once he got on the team, he just stuck there for a very long time. And then at the end, I think he muffed a punt in the playoffs or something like that. And then the year after they cut him, and then the Vikings had 19 injuries and they brought him back. Maybe I'm constructing that, but that's my recollection of Cheryl's. Worth looking up via transaction reports or something.
Yeah, let us know. That would be incredible if there was. I'm guessing there's not.
No, he's right. It's Cheryl's first big long stint, and then left in free agency after the 2018 season. Signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. Was cut on waived injured, so didn't make the Saints and ended up back with the Vikings. And then, he was only on the Vikings. His second stint was 2 months, but it counted. And then he went to Miami, all the way to Miami. Only to return to the Vikings in 2020.
That's the part I recalled, right?
For a week, week 17 of 2020.
Good job, PhD.
Rejoined the Vikings.
Although PhD gave his reasoning and it was not actually what happened, but still, good job, PhD.
Yeah, no, he actually went and signed with another team.
Yeah, which I think
but ended his that was it for him. 2020, yeah. He retired after that.
Nice. There's 45 Marcus Cheryl's transactions on Pro Football Reference.
I bet. Yeah.
That's great. Glad we have resolution to that. When we return, where will the Vikings regress, positively or negatively, this year? That's next. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. NBA Finals headed to Game 7. Unbelievable. Thunder, minus 330 on the money line, 8.5-point favorites at FanDuel. Pacers trying to pull an absolute shocker. I think they were plus 700 going into the series. Might be sitting on a really nice ticket. And do you hedge if you have that ticket? Ooh, big questions, big dilemmas. The MLB season's heating up as well. 75 games in. Twins trying to claw back above that 500 mark. You can bet all those games at FanDuel. I like building out those same game parlays. Also, cross-sport parlays are pretty fun too. Baseball, basketball. Can't throw hockey in there anymore, but pretty soon we'll have NFL preseason football. Oh, yeah. New customers at FanDuel can head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If you win it, you get $200 in bonus bets. Bet 5, get 200, and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Didn't think to bring up the Commissioner's Cup, Sam?
Commissioner's Cup, Lynx, Fever. Do we have a line on that?
I would be surprised if we didn't. I mean, the game is not for a little bit, if I understand correctly, but I'd be surprised if we didn't have a line.
11 days from now.
They got everything.
Yeah, they do have a line. Lynx by 4.5.
There we go.
You going, Arif? Using Game Time?
Is it Game Time? Yeah. That was the last time we had, Game Time as a sponsor, and I was going to say, I'm surprised they still pay us, given that we just kind of do this for free now. but that's not a bad idea. I'll talk to my guy who has tickets to see if he has tickets to that game in particular.
Nice. You didn't know Game Time pays us every time we shout it out. I think that's the agreement we made. Game Time.
Oh, okay, I'll ask for a raise.
Game Time.
Game Time.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Sure to do that a lot more at more inopportune times.
Where will the Vikings regress or progress this year? Where were the extremes? I mean, I think in recent years, you talk about close game regression, right? That was the storyline after 2022. They're going to regress in close games, and they did. It was absolutely correct. Where is that going to happen this year, for better or for worse? Luke Braun.
I'm trying to look at it. So I looked because it felt to me like the Vikings had really good fumble luck, and then I looked it up, and they're 20th in fumble luck. So that feels pretty average.
Yeah, that's within that range.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to like measure luck. There are some places, I think PFF has a luck metric, and it's like fumble luck and penalties against opponents and stuff like that. And it's kind of just trying to put together like all the things that you can't control. And then some places will use it as like whether like how they outperform or underperform their spread. And like
I hate that.
trying to do like outliers. I don't really get it. It's weird, but most of these like conglomerate luck metrics have the Vikings as a pretty lucky team, but I am trying to figure out why. I can't find the guts to all of this because I think a lot of these are proprietary metrics. So I guess they'll be less lucky, but I don't really know what that means.
I think they'll regress by being less lucky, just broadly. So the two metrics that I looked at, one to suggest better results for the Vikings, one to suggest worse results, which I believe is what you meant by better or worse, Sam.
Yep.
The two that I looked at were red zone conversion rate, which actually the Vikings were better than I thought they were offensively in red zone conversion rate. They ranked 19th. But I think they'll get a lot better anyway, right? Like first, it felt below average just kind of watching the games. And I think one of the reasons that they'll get better has to do with the nature of the offensive line. So obviously adding Donovan Jackson, Will Fries, Ryan Kelly. Also, I think adding Jordan Mason is probably going to help a little bit. And when you've got a quarterback that you feel like the Vikings might be a little bit more comfortable running, that gives you an added element here as well. Also, I hope, and maybe this is more aspirational than it is like real solid analysis, but I imagine that Kevin O'Connell is going to get a little bit less cute. That was something that he loved doing at the red zone for the past couple of years. It worked out at the beginning for sure. I think that the cuteness kind of stopped working, and I think that we're going to see kind of more standard approaches to the red zone like we did in the second half of the season. So that's, I think, going to move in a positive direction for the Vikings. The opposite direction, I think, is just generally takeaways. So I guess the Vikings didn't land on as many fumbles or whatever. But I do think that losing Cam Bynum, losing Shaq Griffin, who contributed a little bit of the takeaways, and just like generally, I don't expect, hopefully I'm wrong, Andrew Van Ginkel to produce what he produced. Yeah. I think that just generally speaking, that's going to reduce to the mean. So the Vikings, not like directly to the mean, but closer to the mean. So the Vikings were tied for first in total takeaways defensively and second in the league in turnover percentage. And I believe that's a percentage of plays, not percentage of drives. And I still think the Vikings will be very good at producing turnovers, but like regression is anything that gets closer to the league average. I think that the Vikings had a higher rate, if I remember correctly. I remember doing this like near the end of the season last year, had a higher rate of interceptions on interceptable passes than most teams, which is to say like about 60% of interceptable throws are dropped by opposing defenses. It's why they play that side of the ball or whatever, right? And the Vikings had a much higher rate of intercepting interceptable passes. So I think that one, just generally the way regression and statistics and probability work, the Vikings will reduce the total number of takeaways. And then two, I think that roster turnover is going to impact that a little bit.
I also found real quick, I found the penalty stat. The Vikings did lead the league in penalties against their opponent.
Yeah.
I don't think that entirely is random. There is some signal to the fact that both Jefferson and Addison are less physical receivers, and defenses therefore want to play them more physically and push that line a lot. And you'll have games like the one against the Jets where there's penalties all over the place. And the Jets walk away super mad at Sauce Gardner because he gets like 3 pass interference penalties. There's some signal to that, but it's probably pretty hard to be like, yeah, they'll be first in the league again with that. That'll be fine.
I like that. I want to answer Sloth in the comments real quick. So is that luck, or is it just having DBs who are good at making plays on the ball? On an individual level, my understanding, this is just what I know. I could be wrong about this. On an individual level, there are a number of players who will, over the course of their career and from season to season, have a higher rate of catching interceptable passes, and therefore a number of players who have a lower rate of catching interceptable passes, that I believe is an expression of skill rather than luck. But I think on a team level, we find it pretty rare for teams to repeat an above or below average interceptable pass catch rate, as it were, whatever stat you want to use. So the fact that there are some players that can demonstrate this as a skill, I don't think it's easy to contest that either statistically or just like conceptually. Like, obviously, some players are better at catching the ball than others. I would never say that like Patrick Peterson has average hands for a DB, right? Or Travis Hunter coming into this year, right? But I just think that generally speaking, there are not enough of those players on NFL defenses for them to produce an above average rate from year to year for those defenses, especially when you do have the roster turnover that the Vikings had. So Sloth, I think it's a good question, Sloth. I think the problem here is when you go at it from an individual to a team level, you just don't see the same effect. So that I think was a good point to make, but I don't think here it helps the Vikings.
Couple things. Number one, I dug into, while you were talking, some of the penalty analytics with regard to defensive pass interference and defensive holding against the Vikings. Vikings were tied for third in pass interference penalties against them, and that makes a ton of sense. Addison Jefferson. Cincinnati was tied for first. They've got Higgins and Chase, so that makes a lot of sense.
A lot of the penalties against Jefferson were before the ball was thrown, so a lot of them are like defensive holding.
And I looked that up too.
Illegal
Vikings number one. Vikings are number one with 12 received last year. Now, here's the crazy thing. I looked at the worst teams in this. Detroit getting no whistles. Detroit got one defensive holding all of last year and one defensive pass interference call all of last year. How is that
another reason
possible?
to move them down the rankings? Opponents don't feel scared enough to commit a penalty.
Who's the guy on the Thunder that's always foul baiting?
SGA.
Part of the game.
Yeah,
it's SGA, part of the game.
Yeah, Lions not getting
now that I have a vested interest in the Thunder winning. Keep it up, Shy.
Shy. I also want to point this out too. I think it could balance out because the Vikings were a big turnover team, like Arif mentioned, and we've seen this happen over the last 10 years. Whenever they have really good turnover numbers, it almost always moves backwards. 2016, they were tied for 7th best. Went to tied for 9th worst the next year. 2022, tied for 8th best with Ed Donatel. A lot of late game takeaways. Went to tied for 13th worst.
A lot of useless takeaways. Got it.
2019. Hey, they had some game clinchers. They recovered fumbles in the end zone, Arif. 2019, they were 4th and then went down to tied 10th. So this usually does regress. But I think if they just became a normal fumbling team, like in terms of fumbles lost, that could offset. Because they got a lot better at losing fumbles last year and still were in the bottom half of the league. It's super realistic if you look at the numbers year after year. The top 10 teams in the league only lose like 3, 4, or 5 fumbles for a whole year. 2 years ago, the Vikings lost 15. Like, if they could just be have a good fumbling year and not fumble the bleep in football,
sure.
I think that could kind of balance out the takeaway regression.
I think was it 3 of Dalvin Cook's fumbles for the Vikings a couple of years ago occurred on plays he got injured?
Yes. Yes. A weird idiosyncrasy about his game, unfortunately.
And if I recall about the Vikings fumbles last year, one of the things about it was they always happened like on the 1 yard line. Like they were always maximally impactful, which is also a part of this luck.
Yeah. I think it's a good point, Sam. I think just going from first to anything is more likely than staying first. Is kind of where I'm at. I think that the Vikings will be a top 8 team in terms of takeaway percentage and takeaways. So I don't want to suggest that the regression is going to go completely too average, but I think to be number one, you have to be both good at, the smaller boxes. You have to be both good at producing turnovers and lucky. Like, I think that's what happens when you're number one, right? So you get a little less lucky. You remain good at producing turnovers. So they could be top 5, but I still think that that's how you get a number 1 ranking in a lot of these statistics. Unless it's like offensive red zone touchdown rate, and you've got a running quarterback. In that case, you can be number one because of how enormous that advantage is without having the help of additional luck.
I want to get into Justin Jefferson's timeline. I brought this up on Wednesday. I want your guys' take. He turned 26. He is still in his prime. I'm going to ask you guys how long we can expect this golden era of Justin Jefferson to last. That'll be next. Plus, we have Adrian Peterson and NFL theme song ranks still to come. All right, roll it on. Minnesota Football Party. Normally we do this Mondays and Thursdays. Today it's Friday. Find us streaming on Locked On Vikings and Locked On Sports Minnesota. Check out Luke Braun's great daily Vikings content over there. So Justin Jefferson on Monday, he turned 26 years of age. I don't think we can call him a young receiver anymore, you guys. I think he is like squarely in his
I've not
prime.
been calling him a young receiver.
Yeah, I know he's a.
I don't, probably 2 years removed from that.
He's an up and comer, a lot to prove.
Yeah, he's got a lot of potential.
I think there's
like the cut of his jib.
I think we can expect Justin Jefferson to play out if he played out the duration of this Vikings contract that he's under, I think we could expect elite results. The question I have is Justin Jefferson the receiver that will produce to age 35 the way that we saw from Carter, from Owens, Fitzgerald, Harrison? Not so much Moss.
Much like the cats who live with me, he will produce forever. He will never die, and he will always be at his peak level, and you can't convince me otherwise.
There's an argument for this. So I think when it comes to like who ages gracefully, the kind of receiver that ages gracefully is one that wins for reasons outside of athleticism.
Yep.
Which is why like Adam Thielen has aged so gracefully, because so much of his craft is very good. And I think Diggs could have too. I mean, coming off of an ACL and the problems with that is a little bit tougher, but like those two were very technical kind of route runners. And I think Jefferson is the same. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Jordan Addison ages gracefully. So much of what he does is predicated on him having the speed to get out of his route stem and then stack back up. And he goes pretty far off the path. He's fast enough to get back and get where he's supposed to on time. But like when he's 30 and that isn't true anymore, is he going to still be able to, like, he's going to have to find a new way to win on routes at that age? That's pretty tough. I do think Jefferson's game ages gracefully.
I will say this.
Yeah, I don't know what the number you put on it, but
I think we tend to overestimate how quickly someone loses their speed. I will say that. For example, Tyreek Hill was 31 and just ran a 10.1500 meter dash.
Insane.
Which
crazy.
My God.
Jesus Christ. What?
Yeah. I can't super process that fact if I'm being 100% honest. Like if he had stayed in track, his age 28 track season could have been Olympic, which I am so against this kind of argument, right? Because I just think that track athletes are a different level of fast than NFL athletes, and that
they're super different builds. Like,
yeah, and
different kind of body
and speed profiles, right? Because track athletes tend to be, not always, right, but would tend to be faster in kind of the back half of the 100, which is not important for NFL athletes. And when you track,
there's no agility in a track, like
so it's completely different, right? But that 10.15 is crazy. And, we've seen other athletes do it. What was the Washington guy, Darrell Green? He was fast forever. But I do think that if you are a little bit lighter, you're more likely to kind of lose that explosiveness that makes you fast, especially if you're a quick accelerator. And that's how you build your speed. And I think that you're likely to see somebody who relies on strength, speed, quickness, more likely to age a little bit less gracefully. Now, Diggs, I think, is a really interesting case study because I think he's both, right? He has quickness, which I think you lose faster than you lose strength or top end speed. And he relied a lot on his inherent explosiveness to supplement how good of a route runner he was. He exploded out of breaks in a way that I think you don't see a lot. And so he's an interesting case study, and we're not really going to get a clean understanding of the way his career progressed because of those injuries, right? So it's kind of difficult to figure that out. But I think the ultimate point here about Jefferson, I think, remains the same. There are other physical capabilities that Jefferson has that we don't call athletic that may be subject to aging, that are kind of difficult to fully understand. So, for example, he's elite at ball tracking, right? Which requires some level of physical capability with your eyes and your hands. That's not something we measure at the combine, right? And so I don't know how that ages in athletes. No one has ever tracked that as far as I can tell. He has, and this has been mentioned a couple of times now. This was in Alec Lewis' piece. He scooped me on this particular thing by like a week. It's very annoying, but Jefferson is 1 out of 10,000, I think, in terms of eye dominance. So most people are left eye dominant or right eye dominant. If you like close your eyes, you can see which one doesn't shift the position of the thing that you're looking at, and the one that doesn't shift is the eye dominance that you are, and then the other one is for depth perception. Justin Jefferson is both eye dominant, and which is extremely, extremely rare. Is that something that gets impacted by age? I don't know, probably not, but like that helps him track the ball over either shoulder, which is not something every receiver has. So my guess is that he will remain a high level player for a very, very long time, given what we know about athleticism and aging, but it's something that you can never have a full grasp on.
There's a case to be made that at one point in the last 5 to 10 years, we said that Julio Jones was on like this Mount Rushmore trajectory, that DeAndre Hopkins was on this Mount Rushmore trajectory, and we saw them produce until about 30. And now the drop-offs are unbelievably clear.
Julio's a great case of an elite, best in the game type receiver who relied a lot on his athleticism, for sure.
Yeah. So I think that it's between the ages of 30 and 35 where you go from, a lot of those age 30 guys where they drop off, they're fringe Hall of Famers. They might be Hall of Famers. But then if you get to age 35 and you produce that whole time, that's where you get into, we're talking Mount Rushmore category, top 5 all-time receiving yards. You're associated with the Carters, the Owens, the Mosses. It's a different stratosphere if you can produce that late. And some of it, I think, is opportunity. Like, I think that once you leave that first team, the contract starts to get onerous. You're no longer thought of as the number one. And I think teams are more and more impatient as these elite young receivers come along. I can't blame them. I think it's getting harder and harder to last until age 35. So I think opportunity is a big part of it. Do you guys think that could be eventually a factor with Justin Jefferson, just with the when he's making league high money, they're going to expect league high production. I don't think we ever expected Adam Thielen to get cut from the Vikings, but once he started to show that decline, it was a fairly easy decision.
I can guarantee this. We'll be talking about it some summer. Some summer with 2 or 3 years left on this deal, we'll be like, Justin Jefferson, cap casualty. And I'm going to blow my gasket.
Is regressing. He only had 1,300 yards this year, below his career average of 1,700.
Right, yeah, he's falling off.
He's falling off.
Yeah, we'll have super annoying conversations about this because anytime a wide receiver gets paid, people really start to show their true colors.
For sure. Before we move on, Sam, my last take on that is I don't super think so, because the way that cap management works in the modern NFL, until something changes, is that it is the middle class of players that gets bored out. So you get stars and rookies on a lot of rosters. So the life cycle of a journeyman veteran is shorter in the NFL. I believe there was a couple of studies that confirmed this, but the player that earns a little bit more than league minimum or just beyond that is the player that's most at risk. And because of the way that the rookie salary cap works, you tend to replace those with rookies, but the stars remain. And, you're coring out that veteran middle class, as it were, group of players in order to retain those stars. And Jefferson is very clearly in that star category. So I don't think that, we're going to see that happen for quite some time.
Great points by Arif. Great points by Braun. Thank you very much. On the other side, Adrian Peterson, another negative headline. Plus, we rank the NFL theme songs. unfortunate pattern developing with Adrian Peterson. As we talk about Mount Rushmore at your position, I mean, Adrian Peterson is going to be enshrined in Canton. Now, he might put the gold jacket on eBay the next day because the man needs money. He has been embroiled once again in a TMZ headline. And you think about the last few years, debt collectors trying to seize his assets, domestic dispute with his wife, DWI after the draft party this past year, and now gets into a fight over a poker hand. Now, the video I saw cut off, maybe you saw a different video. Video I saw had he and the other person kind of circling around, throwing punches and missing most of them, but it looked like Peterson was about to destroy this guy at the end of the video.
At the end, when he got him up against the wall.
Yeah,
we saw the same video. Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know if there's anything more is going to come of that from a legal standpoint. The Adrian Peterson fall is not fun to watch. It's super sad. Thoughts on how? I mean, I don't even know if like you can really talk about this with like football legacy. It's just it's sad to see.
I don't think it impacts his football legacy. I think the most negative things that have occurred off field for Adrian Peterson, unless something super concerning happens, which I do not put this in that category, which is kind of weird. The negative things have already happened for Adrian Peterson, and so his legacy is already kind of cemented. Unless you have something like monstrous occur, which, we can't predict. And so, but I think that this doesn't impact it. My takeaways are, one, that athleticism and fighting technique are separate and that fighting is a skill. And he does not have that skill. Neither does the other guy. And in that case, that other guy was going to be doomed eventually. Because
I need to get in the head of that other guy. You're playing poker with Adrian Peterson. You're going to choose him to pick a fight with? Do you even know who Adrian Peterson is? And if you don't, have you looked at him? He's the guy at that table you're picking a fight with?
There was one swing. Fine. There was one swing that Peterson missed on earlier, like early-ish in the video, where if it connects,
right, that guy's done.
Lights out.
The guy connected once or twice, and of course, it's Adrian Peterson. He's taken bigger hits in practice, right? He did not. He ate that like a champ. But yeah, no, for sure. Once he got that guy, and I'm from a visceral, I'm an audience member watching a fight, who doesn't love to watch a fight and then feel guilty about it afterwards? Well, I mean, I guess a lot of us don't feel guilty about it afterwards, but these are not professional fighters. I did want the video to continue, because I just wanted to see my assumptions confirmed and validated, which is that this guy was going to end up in a hospital. Now, I don't want anyone to end up in a hospital, but in the moment, you're watching a fight, you're thinking that guy's going to get wailed on. And Peterson just does not have the fighting technique to get there until they clinched up against a wall. And I think that guy was done for once you got to that point.
Has Peterson gone down the Ray Edwards path yet? Has he done some boxing? Didn't he do this? Or am I misremembering? I thought Peterson dabbled in boxing.
I feel like that might have been a story when he was in Minnesota about like him boxing to like get his hand strength, like his arm strength.
Oh, to help like his pass catching skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe something like that.
He's like I said,
what was the most likely source of the poker beef? I'm guessing most likely favored on FanDuel is that the guy he was fighting bluffed him, chirped him, won the hand. Peterson loses a big pot.
Oh,
probably steam. Like, is that the most like? Do you think that
Chad's been talking about his boxing match with Le'Veon Bell a bunch? That's what you're thinking. That's what we're thinking.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
That was it.
Probably gotta hire a better trainer then, because he does not have it.
That was not controlled boxing.
I'm kind of curious.
I have a theory.
Sure.
I'm thinking this guy maybe sat down and went, I'm gonna fight Adrian Peterson today.
That's a good story. You know, in Atlanta, when Don Glover races Michael Vick, sometimes you get in your own head about your capabilities.
Well, sometimes it's like, I'm gonna lose, but I'm getting the story today.
Right? Yeah. So I do want to add this same. Peterson has been playing poker for a while, and my understanding is that in these celebrity tournaments, he's basically staked. So he's not necessarily playing with his own money. I did talk to a poker professional about this. Peterson is notoriously bad at poker. So like even for celebrity tournaments, which I think
is hilarious.
Yeah. Which I think
How
is
do
really
it's a card game.
I got a 2 and a 4. They're both hearts, though.
There's a lot of skill expression in high level poker.
For sure. But how do you get that bad? Like even the dumbest idiot gets lucky. Like
yeah, well, I mean, so if you get lucky, the best skill that you can then have is to walk away, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, we know that didn't happen here in this situation.
You think that's on the table here? Absolutely not. So
clearly.
Yeah. So he's notoriously bad at poker. I imagine whatever happened was probably he lost money due to his own errors, right? Either he reads an opponent wrong when he's bluffing, or he just miscalculates. Maybe he went all in on 2-7 offsuit. I don't know, right? But probably he seems like somebody that you could get some tells from by goading him. And I'm guessing that's what happened. And the guy just kept chirping, like you said, won the hand, and Peterson had just had enough of this guy that doesn't properly respect and appreciate who he is, right? Yeah. And then you throw hands. Well, I mean, you try.
I've lived my whole life batting 1,000 on making the right decision about not fighting that guy. I've always the answer's always been no in my life, and it's always been the correct answer.
Have you ever shaken his hand?
Just like any guy, I look at a guy on the street and I'm going to not fight him. It's always been the right decision. Batting 1,000. So it's unforgivable.
And when you have chosen to fight, was that the right decision too? When the guys you did fight?
Not applicable because the right answer is always to not fight the guy. And I've always made the right choice.
We are built different. I clearly am not built to be a fighter. I think we can all agree on that one. But look, I made some choices. I have very rarely lost fights, but I've made some choices.
I've never lost a fight.
Because you've not been in one.
That's correct.
But certainly Adrian Peterson is not someone I would, because I at least have the wherewithal to understand that most people are more athletic than me, right? So it's really about picking and choosing when that does happen. And Adrian Peterson, obviously. And again, Adrian Peterson's really funny because he's a guy, like, if you shake his hand, you're like, why does he fumble so much? What in the world? Because he just crushes you. It's so painful.
Well, Rudy Gobert probably has pretty strong hands too.
Oh,
I mean, that like hand strength, not coordination, not associated with coordination.
Yeah, not necessarily, especially because like a lot of fumbling has to do with kind of where you're carrying the ball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is why like sometimes the Vikings grab a running back who has like a pretty good, like was it Alfred Blue, the Texans guy that they grabbed at one point? And you'll just carry the ball like all the way out, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter how strong your hands are. If you're carrying the ball all the way out away from your body, that's a fumble. It's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. The segment everybody's been waiting for, this is via Esper on Twitter, requesting that we rank the NFL theme songs for the 5 major broadcast partners. NFL, CBS,
by far
Fox,
the most effort.
NBC, ESPN, and Amazon. Now, I want to start with your number 5, and I'd like you to take a stab at humming it. Just
no,
so the audience.
Nope.
Arif.
Nope.
Don't be this. Don't do this. Don't be that guy.
There's some kind of performances I engage in, and some I don't. There's a reason I've never played a bard in D&D.
Yeah, I don't understand the reference, but I implore you to participate. Don't make Braun and I just be on this island. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it looks like Braun's on my side on this one.
Okay, number 5.
My number 5 is CBS. It's It's too much.
Oh my god.
Oh really? Well, I got that. I got the same lockstep so far.
Are you guys?
It's a lot of heavy drum beats at the start. It's attempting to manufacture excitement from the very beginning. And here's my biggest problem. Don't take me the wrong way. I love guitars. I am a 90s rock guy. I live and breathe music that features guitars. But this is not the place where the guitar takes too much center stage. It fills up everything with this is a brassy orchestral genre that we're talking about. There's too much guitar. It sounds like a Saturday cartoon morning theme mixed with an NFL theme more than it does in NFL theme. I would rather allow it to build up that excitement than beat me over the head with some drums at the very beginning.
Guitar, is there that much guitar in the CBS theme? Now, let's give it a little hum. Da, 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 da. That's very brassy. Da, 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 da.
You're not humming the guitar, that's for sure.
Wait, yeah, are we doing the entire like 2.5 minute song here, or because I'm just doing the first?
There's a very
every week.
There's a very recognizable portion that gets played.
Yeah, that's what I'm judging this on. I don't know what happens at 90 seconds into that song.
I put the glasses on because CBS is the number 2 theme song. CBS is number 2. Not only is the introduction pulse pounding, brass, very authoritative, but the secondary, like the bumper, as the announcer says, "We welcome you to Foxborough, Massachusetts, for the Patriots."
Yeah, I didn't listen
and
to
the Bills.
any with the commentary. I only listened to the theme.
That's awesome. And CBS also has the reputation of having the greatest college football theme song in history. I think
that doesn't help here. I don't care about that at all.
I just think CBS Sports has the nostalgia factor going. I'm into it. That's my number 2.
The reason I'm putting this last is because it feels dated to me. It feels old. It feels dusty.
They're all old.
Oh, so you must love the Amazon one then. I'm curious about this.
Yeah, how is
I'm probably higher on the Amazon? I think I'm higher on the Amazon.
Obviously, so Amazon's my number 4, and I could be convinced to put it at number 3. The only reason I put anything above, or the only reason I put number 3 above Amazon is because of the nostalgia factor, because I really appreciated the feelings it evoked. But Amazon for me, it obviously it creeps from all the other ones. It sounds a lot actually like the NFL on Fox one, but I think that it's a little bit too, if you averaged out a bunch of themes, it's not bad, right? In fact, I think like CBS, Fox, Amazon are all a little corporate. They're all a little like, oh, cool, some trumpets in a different melody. The CBS one to me, and the thing that I think is clouding my judgment that I can't get over, maybe I shouldn't get over, is that the CBS entire aesthetic is very monochrome. It's very boring. It's very much geared toward the audience of CBS, the kinds of people that regularly watch NCIS. And that's not for me. I'm not that guy. It's not for Luke Braun.
I'm not a mentalist watcher. Okay.
Has anyone ever?
He's not a Criminal Minds guy.
The Amazon NFL theme song. It's definitely last. There's zero nostalgia.
Been around for like 2 years.
That's not their fault, Sam.
Yeah.
Bezos just
nostalgia's doing nothing for me. I am not. I have no nostalgia factor here at all.
Nostalgia is merely a tiebreaker for me. I want to evaluate. These
I don't care about nostalgia factor. I'm judging music.
I'm sorry, Sam, that Amazon didn't exist 20 years ago for you.
Well,
sorry,
you guys have it fourth,
50 years ago for you.
Clearly, we're similar on Amazon. I had it last. You guys had it fourth. You're wrong on.
No, I have a third. You have a third.
So who's your fourth?
I have Fox fourth. I have those kind of 3, and then
interesting.
What?
Yeah. I don't love it. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I like 4 or 5 of these. Okay.
I think they're all pretty good. I think we're ranking a really great genre. So I was begging on CBS a lot, but
I think the Amazon one's catchy and I like it. It's about as deep as this goes, man.
Yeah. Does that not sound like NFL on Fox? So my number 3 is ESPN/ABC. It's not as full as the other 2. It feels like it's missing some backing or something. It doesn't have as much body to it. It's still classic, and the late build works, I think. Oh my God, PhD. The late build works to kind of build you into that level of energy. The problem for me and why I rank it third instead of second or first, right, aside from that body issue, is that it's very obviously creating space for highlight packages. As soon as you get past the 20-second mark, it's just filler, whereas these other ones try to stand on their own. So it's really difficult for me to rank them, 2 or 1. It's just it doesn't have as much going for it.
So I'm realizing I may have done things a little differently than you guys, because the reason that I have the ones my 3, 4, and 5 the way I do is because the other two have like produced theme songs with star musicians, and those are higher.
So you did.
I'm comparing like Carrie Underwood, like NBC has Carrie Underwood here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's I didn't. I just
okay, because if we're just doing the like.
I think the instrumental
like Sunday Night Football,
yes,
that's a completely different ranking. Okay, NBC.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no. Okay, if we're doing like,
so you were
Carrie Underwood Monday Night Football or something.
I was about to talk about Phil Collins and the unreasonably hard ESPN intro song that happens on Monday Night Football.
Number one
with a bullet. But if that's not what we're doing here, give me a sec. Let me reshuffle.
Can you sing that for me? I don't even know what Phil Collins, ESPN.
You don't know the Phil Collins thing?
I know Hank Williams.
ESPN
to me is da 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 da. Da 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 da
it's a
samples Phil Collins, I think. Actually,
it's Phil Collins doing a cover of his own In the Air Tonight.
Is he doing a cover, or is it just sampling In the Air Tonight?
Either way, it's Phil Collins doing In the Air Tonight.
I linked it, Sam. You should. It's
fantastic. It's
unreasonable. It has absolutely no right to be as sick as it is.
It rules. So actually, that's a good point. That would be number 1 in that category, but that's not what we're doing.
The Carrie Underwood thing for NBC, and again, I'm not judging it on that, but that would be a detractor for me. I'm sick of that song. I think NBC's theme itself.
Bring back Faith Hill.
Wait, so you're nostalgic about CBS, but you're not sick of that one? Only when we get the country star involved?
Well, it's because it's verbal. I want instrumental scores. It's the lyrics are terrible. It's overproduced. I want the simple brass band.
I thought you would like the fact that the lyrics are terrible because there's like a cheesiness to it that one could argue is endearing. I'm not there.
Could argue that,
but
I'm not.
Faith Hill was outstanding, and I was trying to see how much nostalgia played a role in me preferring Faith Hill over Carrie Underwood. So a while ago, I played them back to back because they're all on YouTube. And no, Faith Hill is just better, actually, than Carrie on these theme songs. I actually have not listened to their albums or anything, so I can't say anything about them as artists. But for Sunday Night Football, yeah, absolutely. But no, the Phil Collins one goes unreasonably hard.
So I always have to think about NBC. So I go Amazon 5, NBC 4, NBC, and those two were pretty easy for me. Then I think it gets tighter. I went ESPN, ABC 3 because it's like you said, Arif, lacking a little bit of fullness, and I already spoiled my 2, CBS, and that leaves Fox as the clear-cut number 1 without a doubt.
That we agreed on that. Yeah, because I think you're so wrong on all these other takes, but but yeah, NFL on Fox goes really hard. It's really good, and it works with or without the highlight package attached to it, which I don't think is true for the ESPN ABC.
Chat, give us your number 1. I also, and you got to enjoy the injury timeout bumper instrumental, the slow when someone's down.
Yeah.
So Braun, with using Arif and my criteria, what would be your number 1?
So I still have CBS as 5. I now have NBC 4 and ESPN 3 for all of those reasons, Fox 2. And you know what? Yeah, I like the Amazon one, man. It's catchy. It's fun. I like it. It's not deeper than that.
I had NBC 2.
Maybe I'm overreacting to novelty. I'm not sorry.
I really like the NBC theme. I think it has a solid start with the drum beat. It doesn't overdo it with the guitar. It's the only other one that has like a noticeable guitar. But it really lets the orchestra shine. NFL Slime Time on Nickelodeon. Good job. Good work, Bad Dad Joke. But yeah, I think it's classic in a way that doesn't feel overdone or tired. I think it helps that you only have it like once a week. So, but yeah, I really like the NFL on NBC one because it doesn't mess around. It doesn't assault you with drums like the CBS one. It doesn't overdo it with the guitar. I think that for the most part, it just gets you ready for football, and that's ultimately what we're working with here, right?
And you've got
then NFL on Fox is number one. Classic.
The robot is spiking footballs on the field.
I could do without the robot, honestly.
Really? I hope the robot never goes away. It's so 2000s. It's beautiful. It would be like if the Toronto Raptors came out in like their
those were sick uniforms. Those are sick uniforms.
We would all love it. Like I'm into it. The early 2000s are back in fashion anyways.
If we had like a Jessica Simpson reality show commercial playing into
That's possible. Okay, anything can happen. There's a whole franchise on just Mormons. Anything is possible.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of ex-Mormon content on YouTube reacting to that. My media ecosystem is weird. My number one
the
is
algorithm is not doing you favors.
Yeah. My number one is NFL Fox. Classic use of brass. Really great pacing. I think it has the best pacing out of all of them. It builds into the excitement, but it's faster at that than NBC or ABC, but it's not immediate like CBS. Like you got to earn it, CBS. And I think it gets gravity without going overboard, without seeming like cheesy. Like if you play too much NFL Films music, like if you just like watch like 8 NFL Network top 10 lists in a row or something like that, that gets so cheesy, and like after a while it gets tiring on you. And the thing about the NFL on Fox is that it strikes a pretty good balance of not being the kind of cheesy that this orchestral, grand, epic style music it gets you to.
Does anyone have a favorite all-time theme song outside of NFL before we go?
The X-Men Saturday morning cartoon theme song from the late 90s.
Oh, that's good. I was thinking sports, but that I like.
No, I'm sticking with my answer.
Braun?
Not one that like crazy comes to mind.
Sports Round Ball Rock is outstanding. NBA and NBC.
Yeah, coming back next year.
Yeah. So I'll give them that. But
basketball, gimme the ball. I think the old MLB on Fox was really good. I
don't watch cricket, so I don't know what that one's about.
And I also think the NHL on TNT does a good job. But CBS's college football theme song is the gold standard, the GOAT, the all-time best ever. Comments? Oh, MLB on Fox. Thank you.
NFL jacked up is funny. That's good. I like that.
And any NFL primetime music too. That's goated with Berman, Tom Jackson. If Inman was here, Inman would love that one.
Yeah. All 5 of these do bring a lot of serotonin. Boy, there's just a joy in hearing that. Yeah. It just brings you immediately to like a cool fall afternoon.
I will say that maybe one of the reasons I don't like the CBS one is because it reminds me of getting the CBS C team all the time for Vikings games. So that could be playing a role here that I'm not fully aware of or acknowledging. There's
Andrew Catalan here, along with
there's something very unfair happening in my brain with CBS. In fairness, which is that the CBS aesthetic is like synonymous with Jim Nantz to me, and Jim Nantz is synonymous to golf, which is synonymous with naps. So that's fair. This is
crazy that the one that tries to hype you right away, you have like a Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of association nap
immediately.
The drums go and you're out.
Jim Nantz is a great broadcaster, and none of this is his fault. But there is like a more of a dignity than an excitement to him. It's just his style, and that like coupled with the very like boomer oriented, there's some crime show is being plugged all throughout the show. and the way that his voice works, this happens in college basketball to me too. It just it won't have the hype to me that like a Joe Buck call will. It just won't. Maybe it's just because I'm a fan of an NFC team. Maybe I'm a little biased. Maybe some really unfair things are happening in my brain. But the whole CBS aesthetic, I think they're due for a complete redo.
Incidentally, speaking of broadcasters, you know how I know I'm getting older? I agree with Sam that Gus Johnson is overrated. Which is not where I was 7 years ago. I loved Gus Johnson. I mean, he's not awful, but it's a lot, man.
Gus Johnson March Madness highlights is a great video to watch on YouTube. Just don't watch the whole games.
Wow.
Pro tip. Also, Braun loves Amazon, which is associated with Jaguars Titans on Thursday night. That's
a
why?
Good point, actually. Yeah,
this is a pretty good. No, it's, you know what it is? It's associated with Prime Video, which is always a
Prime
good
Video.
The Amazon broadcasting product is fantastic. Yeah, they schlep all the cruddy games into there, but boy, those games are presented awesomely.
Yeah, and like a lot of broadcasting innovations suck. Like for every like third down line, outstanding product, right? For every third down line, there's like 8 glowing hockey pucks, right? Like most broadcast innovations suck. And Amazon is like
tried that and it
nailing these broadcasting innovations, especially on the Prime Vision, where you've got like these guys are most likely to blitz, or these guys are, you know, the key defender on this play out of all likelihood based off the offense and defense, or hey, this guy is open, and they flash it for like 1-2, you know, half seconds, right? So I guess half a second to a second. And then the window closes and the flash ends or whatever. And it's like the quarterback didn't see it. They've got like time to throw, and none of it is intrusive into the broadcast, which is, I think, an extraordinary challenge when you're trying to present a bunch of new information in new, unique, and exciting ways that are interpretable for the viewer. Like that's the biggest thing, is that when you introduce a new concept, explaining it to a viewer in a way that does not interrupt the flow of the game. And Prime is incredible at that kind of thing. So I mean, just they're making all kinds of leaps and bounds in broadcasting styles that took decades to get for like Fox and ESPN and NBC.
Sloth has asked a very good question, which is what about the NFL Network, the special themes, the bells?
Oh,
you know,
I mean, those are great.
Where does that rank? Because that might be my one.
We should, I mean, again, we're gonna run out of copyright, and this is something that I would really want to play in the podcast. But I would love to do a bunch of different NFL Network themes ranks for like the various, prime time, and then also like the classic musics and like where we're gonna put them, because that stuff goes.
This is a great debate. We went long, but it was worth it. We'll be back on Monday for more Vikings and off-season talk. Should have Luke Imden back. We appreciate everybody's time, commenting, liking, subscribing, listening on the Locked On Vikings channel, all of that. Check out Luke Braun's show. Check out Wide Left with Arif Hasan. And I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll talk to you in 3 days on the Minnesota Football Party.